Welcome back, you guys. I'm so excited to dive into today's episode. I decided to do this episode different today because today we're going to take it back to the Amish community. I've been getting a lot of questions again on the Amish community, what it was like for me to grow up there, what we did, what a typical day looked like. And I thought, you know what? I haven't done this type of episode in a while. It's time for me to do that again for a refresher or for the new people that are here and maybe have not tuned into this part of my show here. And so, one of my favorite things to talk about my Amish experience is what it taught me and what I'm so grateful for. Listen, there are a lot of hard things that I went through, from losing my dad at the age of 13 very unexpectedly to sexual abuse and assault, it being covered up by the church, reoccurring, and then I can count on two hands how many times in my life I should have been dead by certain incidents that happened. There was quite a few of them when I was still at home that happened. I can count three times that were either horse and buggy accidents or a near horse and buggy accident that are just like still pretty like sharp in my brain. And this one I will share because it's so like vivid in my brain still. We had this one horse that, and I have yet to understand what the lesson is from this. I don't know yet. But that's the one thing that I want you guys to know is I'm a firm believer that things happen for you, not to you. And I know that can sound really terrible when there's bad things that happen. But it's my way of healing. So that's how I perceive things. Even with all the bad things that did happen, taught me a lot. And the way that I look at it now is that it has allowed me to be able to help other people that are going through something similar or maybe even worse, but being that person to be able to be there and counsel with that. So, with that being said, I'll tell you the story about this horse. So, we had this one horse. My dad had this thing where he would buy retired race horses from the racetracks. And there's a lot of people that they only hyper focus in on the fact that they're like, oh, the Amish only abuse their horses. And they're just so mad and adamant about this whole thing. And I'm like, you can't put everybody in the same bucket. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, that's not how it works. There's bad things that happen there, and there's good things that happen there. There's bad people there, there's good people there. The same that there are millions of those people outside of the Amish community. So it would be the same thing as someone from the Amish community to be like, all people that are not Amish are terrible because someone, is a murderer. Like, it doesn't work that way. So there are a lot of people in the Amish community that take excellent care of their horses. And my family was like that. And so we had this one horse that was just insanely strong. Like, oh man, and he had a mind of his own of what he wanted to do. And when he would go, he would go. So I was by myself, and that's pretty common. I was a teenager, but that's pretty normal. And I'm coming home. One of the things to know about horses is they know and understand when you're going home. All of a sudden, they thought they were tired until they were going home. Then they weren't tired anymore, and they could go much faster because they're going home. And something happened when I was only a few miles from home. And there was this one road that you had to cross the railroad track, and then there was a stop sign, and you had to go left. And then we were right on the right-hand side. And so I'm going east. I have to, cross the railroad track, go through all of that. About a half a mile before I got to the railroad track, for some reason, this horse just like took off insanely fast. I couldn't even slow him down to look to see if the train's coming. Nothing. He wouldn't let me do anything. I literally had my feet braced up against the dashboard of the buggy and I'm holding on to those reins as strong as I can. Didn't do a single thing. He wouldn't slow down, nothing, and he just like kept going. So we get over the railroad tracks, going as fast as he can go, and there's all these cars, and there's a stop sign, and I'm gonna have to figure out how to stop, and I can't because he's going so fast, and nothing I did was gonna help. And so I'm just like, dear God, don't let there be any cars because if there are cars, I'm gonna be dead. Couldn't stop him. That was my first thought because there's cars and they don't have to stop. I do. The second thought was, I don't know how I'm going to control him going this fast and making a left-hand turn and then also making a right-hand turn to get into the driveway. Thank the Lord there were no cars coming that I remember. I don't remember that part. I just remember the adrenaline. But what I do remember is each turn that he would make in order to get to the next place, the buggy would like tip over partially to the side. But I made it home. And as soon as I was home and he had pulled the buggy where it needed to be, he stopped and he didn't move another muscle. He just like stayed there. Like, what the heck? That's crazy. So that's just one of them. And it took me a bit to get through that. But the reason that I want to share that is I want you to know that if you are someone that has experienced those types of things, like, know that there's a high calling on your life. Like, you have a high calling. And when you have a high calling like that, there's always something or someone that wants to try to take you out, whether you know it or not, until you are walking in your gift. So, what's a typical day look like in the Amish community that I'm so grateful for? There's something that I teach that I call like the secret sauce, and it's this structure that I figured out in the last 2 years is this is what actually makes the Amish very successful, and this is what makes former Amish people that leave the Amish community and they had a good structure home when they were at home, they are actually very successful people. I'm not kidding. They know how to do business and business in the right and ethical way as well. But here's the thing, like what I'm about to share with you is also incredibly important for anything that you want to be successful in your life, whether it's in your business, whether it's your day to day for your health. Like you need these things in place in order for it to work and be successful and to have stability in your life. The first one is order. You have to have order in your life. Without order, there's chaos. And with chaos, there's anxiety because you don't have order. Then there's structure. After you have order, you create your structure. What does that look like? So when I think back to my day-to-day at home, order and structure were big. I didn't even know it at the time, but they were huge. So here's how structure looks. First of all, like we had order, like we were orderly, okay? We're called to be orderly. Chaos doesn't get stuff done. Well, some people think it does, but it's not good for your nervous system, let's just be honest. Structure is how this one looks. So every morning we would get up around 5 or 6 a.m. and we would go milk the cows. That was always the structure. That was the plan. There was no negotiating. It was, hey, we got to go milk the cows. So we would milk the cows, feed the animals, then take care of all of that. And then everybody would come together and have breakfast. You have breakfast, all have breakfast together. After breakfast is done, then everybody goes and does their own thing. Like the boys go outside, they do the farming, take care of, if it was summer, they were probably, plowing, seeding, whatever that needed to be done in terms of the crops and stuff. And the girls would, take care of the dishes and do the gardening, the sewing, the canning, the cooking, like all of that stuff, the quilting, like that was the girls' job. Although I did help out on the farm in the crops. So the last 2 years that I was at home, I had only two of my older brothers were left at home. Everybody else was married, I believe. And my twin and I and a couple of my other younger sisters got pulled into having to do a lot of the crop farming as well. So we would, load up the hay, and we didn't have hay balers. We had like the loose hay loader, and that's what we had to do. And we would go out, and it's called shocking. So, or I believe it's called shocking. So we would go out at night when it was cooled down. And this was like after they cut the wheat from the straw. And then you go out and you shock the straw and the wheat, what you use for bedding. And listen, I've been gone for over 20 years, so like some of this stuff I'm like a little green still. But anyway, that was part of it. And so then at lunchtime, everybody comes back in together and you have lunch. And then after lunch, we got to take a nap. And then after the nap, we went about our work. And then we all came together for dinner. And then after dinner, we did the evening chores, milked the cows again. The reason I'm sharing that is because that was the structure. You had structure. Now, I'm not saying so rigid that you don't have any wiggle room. That's not what this is about. But it was structure, and this was what was expected. Then, after structure, there is discipline. How are you showing up for yourself? So, the way that I want to translate this over into, let's just say, your health journey. Okay. One of the number one things that I teach my clients is you have to create structure. If you do not, you're going to be spinning your wheels over and over and over and be like, I don't know what to eat. I didn't have any food planned, and then I got too tired and I didn't want to cook, so I just ordered food in, and it doesn't help. And so the biggest thing that I tell them is you have to have order in your life, and you have to create structure. Once you create that structure, the anxiety of what you're going to be eating and how you're going to be taking care of yourself, it goes away because you already know that you have things planned ahead of time. The people that are the most successful are the ones that make a plan and they create structure. And then once you have that, it's way easier to show up for yourself on a day-to-day basis with discipline. Okay. You don't get to your end goal with just motivation. Motivation comes and goes. Some days you're going to be like, man, I really don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. So, one of the things that the Amish community also taught us is that there are always going to be things that you don't want to do. Always. But you do it anyway. There's no Netflixing it. There's no scrolling on your phone and waiting to do it until tomorrow because you're too lazy for it today. No, it's get it done. You get it done. And so, you know, I think that the biggest thing that I am so grateful for is that number one, it gave me a really good work ethic. And number two, the order and the structure and the discipline are three things that it really taught me. Okay. And then four is that nobody's going to build your life for you. Whether you want to do it or not, you're going to do it anyway. Okay. So let's just say, for example, if you think about, your life today, what is the thing that you're like, I know I need to do that, but I really don't want to do that. So I'm just going to sit here and watch TV because I really don't want to do that. The TV is the distraction. Then you have to ask yourself, okay, what am I not showing up for? What am I ignoring? How am I ignoring myself and my needs and my wants and what I want to accomplish by allowing myself to just sit down and watch Netflix or TV, even though I know I need to get all this stuff done. Now, I'm not saying rest is not important. Rest is important. There's a big difference between rest and laziness. Huge difference. Rest means you know when you need to rest. Laziness means I'm just going to procrastinate and not do the things that I know that I need to do. Laziness. That's different. Rest is I know that I have worked hard and I know that my body is telling me that I need to rest. right now, and then you take the rest. But here is a caveat. The one thing that I had to learn, because like I said, like we learned how to have a good work ethic because we started to work when we were 5, carrying in wood, doing the dishes. And we were taught work before play. You got to get your work done before you play. Once you're done with your work, which I don't think is a bad thing. However, the approval of getting your work done was so high. So, like for many years, I viewed my worth in my work. Whereas, like, if I work harder or do more, like, that's where my value is and where my worth is. And it's not. It's not at all. So, some other things that I love about the Amish community and what it taught me is like growing your own fruits and vegetables, growing your own animals, and what that taught me. So, one of the things that I see so often in the modern world is that people have no idea where their food is coming from. And not that everybody has the opportunity of having a garden. No, not everybody does. So if you do have the opportunity to have a garden, great, bless you. I'm so happy for you. One day I'm going to have a place where I can have a garden again. But if you do not have your own garden, I want you to start thinking about where's my food really coming from. If your food is coming from another country, well, at what point in time was that food actually picked and then shipped here? They have to pick it when it's still like super green and not ripe at all. It doesn't have the nutrients that it's supposed to have in a natural habitat of waiting to pick your fruits and vegetables until it's ripe. It's not the same. And so I want to challenge you, like if you have never thought about that or you've never experienced like a tree ripe peach or a vine ripe tomato or a fresh strawberry that's picked from the plant that was ripe, or you've never had a raw carrot straight from the soil of the garden, that's something that I would challenge you to do because your mind will be blown how different it can be. And so, one of the things that I love about the Amish community too, and that it taught me, is the importance of the strength in a community. And I think that we've seen that here and there over the last year. For example, in North Carolina last fall when they had the flash floods and all the devastation there. For a few months, the Amish community went down there and they helped big time, big time. They helped clean up. They help, in my understanding is they also help rebuild things like homes for people. And so they understand the strength of a community. And I think that's something that in the modern world is just so missing is the strength of community. Now, what I will say is it is wonderful to see how people do come together in the when there's devastation. So I do see that happening as well. One of the things that the Amish have an advantage on, I think, is that they can literally go raise a barn in a day. They have a couple hundred Amish men that show up. They can raise that barn in one day. And I think that's just phenomenal. So those are some of the things that I'm really grateful that it taught me. And I know that it also taught me patience because not everybody is like this. But the where I grew up and just the atmosphere and how we were surrounded, like we learned how to have so much patience. And sometimes it was like too much patience because you gave other people way too much grace for what they were doing. And that's like a recipe for being taken advantage of. And so recognizing those things and having to heal and grow from that was something that I had to do. But I do think it's a beautiful thing to learn how to have patience. So, anyway, that is the episode for today. I'm very grateful for you guys here. If you have not subscribed and shared the podcast, please do so because each week, I focus on primarily health and wellness stuff. And if you have not listened to all of those episodes, like so much information there. I'm going to have some more guests coming on as well. But today was just a little treat of going back to the Amish community and talking about some of the things that I'm most grateful for, because I think it's important. Like, it's one of the things that's missing in the modern world is this gap between the convenience of the world and self-sufficiency and being able to be self-sufficient. And there's this massive gap there. And I think that's something that could be brought together a little bit, where these are things that you can learn from the Amish communities. How are they able to be so self-sufficient? And if you live in the modern world, you get to choose how much you rely on modern conveniences. You really do. If you have all the gadgets and everything, that means that you are relying on so much of modern conveniences. But if you have your phone, your electricity, and some Wi-Fi, and maybe a microwave and stuff, like, that's not terrible. You're not using all of the gadgets, and I like to keep it as minimal as possible. So there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning into the Lizzie Young Show. If you're ready to take the next step to transforming your health and life, visit www.undietyou.com for all my resources and to book your consultation today. Don't forget to subscribe and join me each week for more tips, inspiration, and conversations with phenomenal guests to help you feel your best. See you guys next week.